Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football. Arsenal 1, Spurs 0, and a massive win for Arsenal that keeps them right up there behind Man City ahead of a massive game next week. Arsenal did a job on Spurs as many would have predicted. A clean sheet, a counter-attack, and the winning goal from a set piece. You could have told Spurs this was going to be a probable outcome all last week, and it still happens. Be careful of set pieces. They'll put it near Vicario because they know he doesn't want to come for crosses. They've got the strength of people like Gabriel, and lo and behold, he was the goal scorer. And they'll let you have the ball. You're going to have to create decent chances. And Spurs didn't do that. I mean, I think Spurs had 65% possession. They had double the amount of shots. They had more shots on target. And yet, I can't really think of a big opportunity where you'd go, Spurs should have scored that. Not that Arsenal had loads either, but this, to me, there are two contrasts in North London. There is a team that has had a start to the season that doesn't reflect the football they've played, and that is Spurs. 4 points from 12 is a crisis. They are in a crisis, and we'll talk about whether Ange should be under pressure or not in a moment. 4 points from 12 from Spurs. From the way I've seen them play 3 games, and they could have won 2 of those. They've taken 1 point from the 3 games I've watched. I didn't watch them play Everton. So massively, massively underperforming because they're not doing anything in the final third. But quintessentially, their football's quite decent. Arsenal, on the other side, know how to get the job done. Whether Arsenal have played well in their first 4 games or not, they've got 10 points and they know how to get the job done. And that's the difference between Spurs and Arsenal. It's mentality. Spurs have this mentality that is Spursy, and they just can't get the job done. Whereas Arsenal, over the last 2 years, take Man City out of the league, they're the best team in the league, and they're the best team in the league because they will go to Spurs and win the game. They will go to Villa and win the game. And Villa probably should have beat them a couple of weeks ago, but Arsenal win 2-0, a clean sheet. Spurs, I wouldn't say Spurs should have beat them today at all. I think Arsenal did a job on them, and it's not surprising. It's another clean sheet as well. So, look, Arsenal without Rice, without Odegaard, without other players, people will wax lyrical about that. Can I just say about that? Arsenal fans shouldn't go to town about that. You're doing yourself a misservice. Oh, you didn't have Rice. Oh, you didn't have Odegaard. Hold on a minute. Man City didn't start Rodri in their first 3 games of the season, and they went to West Ham and they went to Chelsea. If you want to compete with Man City, then you've got to have a squad. And if you can have a squad, then you've got to win games away to Spurs without Odegaard and Rice sometimes, and they did do that. So I wouldn't be, if I was Arsenal, I'd just be like, job done. We've done the job. We expect to do the job. We go again. I wouldn't be, getting an open bus tour because you beat Spurs without Rice and Odegaard, because the places you want to go to and the places that you're knocking on the door of, you need a squad. That's what Man City do so well. So I think for Arsenal, not surprised. I predicted they would win. I think I would have predicted, like many people, that they would win in the way that they did win the game, because I think that's the pedigree and consistency that Arsenal have now. And it literally is tick. Let's go back to work tomorrow. I also think with Arsenal, can I just say as well, it's been in my head for a couple of days. I'm just going to drop it in here. The fixture scheduling is a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke. Man City are playing on Wednesday at home to Inter. Arsenal are playing on Thursday in Italy away to Atalanta. And then Sunday, they're playing against Man City. Thursday night and then Sunday afternoon. And it's the game of the season. I think the scheduling is absolutely appalling. And I'm just going to say that. But look, Arsenal roll on to the next one. Spurs, for me, look, I did say on Friday on the Premier League preview show that unless this is a draw, this game was going to be a crisis for one of these teams. It has to be. It's too early in the season to talk about seasons being over or managers being sacked. I don't think Ange Postecoglou should be under pressure. Although the media in the UK is absolutely abhorrent, and the way that they go in on Ten Hag all the time, they should certainly be doing it to Ange, but they won't do because it's Man United. But on a personal level, I don't think Ange should be under any pressure, because where do Spurs go next? Where do you go next? You're playing good football. The final third is letting you down. If that clicks, you'll start winning more games. But what are Spurs? Last time I checked, Spurs aren't Liverpool. They're not Arsenal. They're not Man City. So Spurs are fighting for 4th place. Well, they didn't finish 4th last year. How many times in the last 10 years have Spurs finished in the top 4? It's not every year. So what are Spurs? And that's always the question I say. For me, Spurs under Conte, Mourinho and Nuno were boring to watch, trying to get top 4 with boring football. I think now they play good football and they're trying to get top 4. That's a step forward in itself. But I know what Spurs want to be something, but psychologically and mentality and consistently aren't that. So sacking Ange for what? It wouldn't make any sense. And where would you go next? At least he's got you playing good football. So, but it is a crisis for Spurs, because if Arsenal had lost today, they'd have 7 points from 4, be 5 points off Man City. They want to be winning a title, 5 points behind Man City from 4 games. That would be a crisis, because are you going to make 5 points on Man City even this early in the season? Flip it to Spurs, 4 points from 12 is abysmal. It's an abysmal start to the season. Look, and they've had a hard start in the sense that Newcastle away is difficult, but Spurs at home to Arsenal, you wouldn't expect to lose. It's a North London derby. Leicester away, you'd expect to win, you drew. Everton at home, you'd expect to win, you did win. So Spurs' start to the season is not great, especially when you look at teams like Brighton, who have got, 10 points? Liverpool, 9. Villa, 9. Chelsea, 7. They're already playing catch-up, and they haven't had the hardest start to the season. And as we know, I think their next 4 games, they've got Brentford. Next 3 games, Brentford at home, which you'd expect Spurs to win, but you never bloody know. Brentford at home, Man United away, Brighton away. And really, Spurs are in a position where they need to win all 3 of those. So it is a mini crisis for Spurs. I wouldn't be sacking Ange. That's not the solution for me, especially when we don't even know what Spurs are meant to be. I mean, you sack a manager because they're not achieving the goals you want. It was only a few months ago that Ange Postecoglou was furious with Spurs and their fans because they were willing to lose a game against Man City so that Arsenal didn't win the league. And I remember saying it at the time, and I think it was Ange's point as well. You can't have a fan base that is willing to lose games and turn it on and off and then expect the players to be able to be consistent. If you are willing to turn it off, then you're going to get players that are willing to turn it off. And if you've got players that are willing to turn it off, then they're going to be inconsistent. You either have a winning mentality or you don't. And Spurs have always struggled with that. I think in general, their football's good, but you can't take away the Everton game. Did they score against Newcastle? Don't think they did. Didn't score today. Won against Leicester. Look, Everton are Everton. They're having a shit season. I think Everton are conceding 3 goals against everybody. So, you can't really use Everton as the yardstick. But Spurs results this season, no goal today. And did they score? They scored 1. So they've got 1 against Newcastle, 1 against Leicester, none against Arsenal. You're not going to get many points from that in the Premier League. It's just not good enough. But Arsenal, big win for them. Get your comments in below. Smash a like on the video. Spurs are in a crisis. They are. 4 points from 12 ain't good enough. Can they get out of that? Yes. But they need to start scoring goals. As for Arsenal, they roll to Man City next week. What a game that's going to be. Thanks everyone for watching. Remember, we're live at midday tomorrow in the Goldbridge Arms for the Premier League review show. Take care. Subscribe. I'll speak to you in a bit.